We are live. What's going on, good people? It's your girl, Take Action Low. Welcome to another episode of the Take Action with Low show. Ooh wee. This is an exclusive special interview or a special exclusive. Either one, it's both. But I have an incredible guest, and I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about on today. And Miss Christia Rogers. But before I officially introduce her, I want to thank everybody for following me. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure anything that you guys want me to talk about, let me know. I appreciate the feedback that I've been getting. And I got a lot of people interested on this subject matter today, dealing with mental illness and dealing with depression. So this is the holidays, and so we're going to dig in. Now, Christia is a licensed counselor, but before we get into that, if you guys go back about 3 or 4 years and check out our first interview, I was talking with her about real estate and wholesaling, and we connected and we worked together, and she closed the deal and she's closed other deals. So we really linked together on the first interview with real estate, but this one is different. And a lot has happened personally in my life, and I know in hers. And I couldn't think of a better person to interview and talk to and have on the show to talk about this. So, Christia, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, sis. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and share and talk with us about mental health and dealing with it and depression. So, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. So thankful and grateful to be here. I appreciate it. Thanks for thinking of me.
Oh, of course. Now, let's jump right into it. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and also your journey to becoming a licensed counselor, and more specifically, what you do.
Well, it's been a journey for sure. Started out as a coach. I coached basketball and track, and I ended up finding out that there was so many kids that were going through so many things. I was like, hey, this ringing started coming in my ears. It's like, track is going to be track, but you are inspiring others. So I went back to get my degree and my master's. And so I obtained my master's in education counseling, as well as a behavior interventionist. So I did some double dipping. And so I ended up as a counselor. I had a couple of good mentors that guided me and helped me to build my practice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, presently, I have 2 offices, one in DeSoto and
Awesome.
one in North Richland Hills. So I'm very thankful that I made it this far because, sometimes, you get sidetracked. So,
Absolutely. Yes. Well, can you share a little bit more of, the people that you have worked with? I know you said kids.
mhm.
So do you only work with kids, or do you work with adults also?
Yes, I do. I work with adults. I tend to, my age group is 12 to older, geriatric. Um, I do work with adults. My area is focused on trauma,
Okay.
as well as couples. And I work with mood disorders. So that's kind of my scope of my practice. I also am a teaching practice, so I'm a supervisor for licensed professional counselors. So they're licensed, pre-licensed interns, and my office is open for interns so they can learn and become board certified as well as nationally certified. So
Awesome.
here to help guide their journey. So
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much, because I know that's important. I want people to understand, specifically how you tie into this and how you can talk about it. So let's talk about what mental illness is. We can start there, and then we can talk about the different kinds
okay.
of mental illness. So,
Okay, so I like to look at it as a spectrum of disorders of mental health. So it can range from the not so severe to the extremely severe.
right.
And so it's a mental health, it's issues that kind of encompass mental illness.
Mhm.
It is how your brain functions and how you are thinking about things, and then in turn, how you feel about those things, and then how you act. them out. So there is also some chemical imbalances that
Hmm.
also are a component of your mental illness. You could be sometimes predisposed to certain mental illnesses if you've heard of, oh, that's just my crazy aunt, and
Right.
it
Child,
appears
you know
from,
she crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we know those. Of course, around the
Hmm.
holidays, we are exposed to our, relatives that, may not be well. But because us and our family, we don't always talk about it or address it. So,
Absolutely.
that's
Yes.
where we are.
Yep. Now, let's talk about a few of the different types. Okay. That you got anxiety, you have depression, you have PTSD, and you have bipolar. Can you
Yes.
touch a little bit on each one of those?
Absolutely. And those do fall under the mood disorders. PTSD is actually an anxiety, and that's kind of where it falls under the DSM-5, how they characterize it. As for let's start with the anxiety. And anxiety is pretty much when you are worried about the future. There's kind of what your mind goes to. Oh my goodness, did I turn off the oven?
Hmm.
Did I, oh my gosh, I have like 12 things I need to do today. And not just thinking about it, but it can wreck your day. If you don't get XYZ in the morning, your day is ruined
Right.
pretty because you're worried that it will ruin everything just because something happened out of sync. Or you're worried about your future.
Hmm.
I'm not living up to XYZ expectation, so I'm not going to be good at anything,
Yeah.
or I'm not going to make anything happen good in my life. So that's kind of your anxiety, your worry
Yeah.
factor, those kind of things. Mhm.
Awesome. Touch on depression a little bit.
Depression
Hmm.
is your overwhelming sense of sadness.
Okay.
It does affect lots of people. That is probably the most prominent, and it's
Yeah.
hidden. Lots of people hide it. They try
Yep.
to. And
Yeah.
you don't talk about it,
Yep.
and they talk about it. It's because it's an overwhelming sadness where you are thinking about the past more so.
Hmm.
About things that have happened in the past that predispose you to not be a good person. When losses come in, divorces come in, all kinds of things can predispose you to depression.
Hmm.
So grief is one of those things that fall under there. It is a sense of like bad feelings, overwhelming feelings, apathy. Um, and we can get into some other components about, some of the signs and symptoms that you could see with
Sure.
depression.
Right.
Overeating, under eating, not enough sleep, too much sleep. And it's
Hmm.
also, when you are feeling apathetic and flat. Lots of people, when they are depressed, they tell me they feel stuck.
Hmm.
They're unable to move on and move past the next step.
Yes. That's
So,
good. And you just kind of broke that down, and for those of you that's listening, if these things are sounding familiar, or if you can see yourself in some of these behaviors that she's talking about, then we're going to talk a little bit later on maybe some things that you can do to take action to help you with that, right?
absolutely.
Um, so why does depression tend to increase more during the holidays? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. And it is a seasonal affect,
Yeah.
if you will, if we want to be clinical about it. And that's how it's termed. And basically, it is kind of what we talked about. You're around family or you're not around family. You see others, of course, we have the big jump of all the commercials, etc., that are getting you in the Christmas mood,
Mhm.
um, or not getting
Yeah.
you in.
Right.
You're thinking about the money you don't have, the money that you're about to spend. That's more of the anxiety about it. But then it kind of keeps
Yeah.
going. And then you're feeling alone. Also, the weather doesn't always, jive with you. Some
Mhm.
people tend to, when there's no sunshine, it's just the energy is just bad. The sun does give you more energy. Of course, we talk about vitamin D all the time. You know,
Mhm.
do because that's a component of the sun. It gives you vitamin D, it gives you energy. So when you have cloudy days, kind of like today, you can kind of feel a little bit more down than others, and you just don't know what's causing it. You wake up and it's like, oh, I feel icky. And then you look out and like, oh, that's why it's
Yeah.
cloudy and raining, and then you tap into that. Now, when we're talking about people that are suffering more of moderate or
Hmm.
severe, it is a chemical imbalance that could predispose them to feeling sad or down. And then some of the symptoms are, not wanting to wake up. You're
Hmm. Yeah.
you're constantly tired. You're
Hmm.
constantly irritable. You're
Hmm.
not going to take much from other people.
Right.
It's just
Nothing motivates you, right?
nothing motivates
Nothing.
you. You're having loss of feeling for the things that you like to do. If you're
Hmm.
an active bowler or jogger, or you love sports and you're just like, no, don't want to do that. I don't have the energy to do it. So
Hmm.
that is depression.
So I want to talk a little bit, and I told you, before that I wanted to share just, a little bit of my story,
Mhm.
and why a part of my passion, and why has shifted, over
Yes.
the last few years is that, dealing with depression firsthand, within my family. And
Mhm.
it's been mostly for us, trauma, the
Yes.
trauma of death, of
Yes.
losing loved ones, not only losing loved ones, but losing not just one, but multiple, and tragically
Yes.
and suddenly.
Mhm.
And I remember, with you talking about the different levels of depression, how it could be severe and not, more specifically with my grandfather. We, a few years ago, we saw his behavior change.
Mhm.
He was talking and sharing different things that he normally wouldn't. It was just kind of out there. He lost weight, a dramatic amount of weight, like 30 pounds within a 30-day period, in a month's time. So, as a family, one, we knew that mental illness was a part, of our family. His mother, my great grandmother, battled it and dealt with it a large part of her adult life. But also, we came together. Not only just did we pray, but
Mhm.
we took action to research and find out what is going on. And long story short, he was diagnosed with chronic depression. And there was a series of events that had happened throughout his life that he did not deal with. He just kept going. And I know we'll talk about that in a minute. Just keep going.
Mhm.
But anyway, so I've seen it from a very chronic state, as
Yes.
well. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about the negative stigma of mental illness.
Mhm. Well, looking at us, we're brown people, um, black people, and it
Yes.
usually happens in our households. I'm sure that anybody listening, I'm thinking of people in my family that I know that have suffered from depression, and we just weren't allowed to express it.
Yeah.
It's a very historic way of dealing with depression. We have been told that you don't share your business with others. You don't tell people what we're doing. What happens in our house stays in our house.
Yep.
So when you're feeling something, whether it be anxiety, sadness, even indifference is a feeling.
Mhm.
Um, if we try to share that with our family, girl, go pray. You go pray and put it all on the altar.
That's it. And run around the church 3 or 4 times. All of that.
Get the holy oil,
All of
get
it.
all of that.
All of
You know,
that.
you'll try to pray it out of you, but get rid of the demons. Unfortunately, the reality of that, it doesn't always work, and it's not a lack of that person or that individual, which is a guilt trip.
Right.
Because, if you don't believe, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And so take it. I'm good now. You
Mhm.
are right that prayer worked. Yes, prayer does work, but God also allowed people to be educated to help you get through these things.
Absolutely.
So you have to trust in that, have faith in that. I get a lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't know what to say. And,
Yeah.
and when they first get here, they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I'm just talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need somebody to help you throw some things against the wall and see what sticks. And then, of course, we do talk about the medication.
Hmm.
The biggest advocate for it. I think we should try, cognitive behavioral therapy first, talk therapy, which is one of the one leading ones for depression.
Hmm.
So get after it, try it out. And then that's when you also discover that there is that strength within yourself to believe in yourself, to have faith that this is going to work.
Yeah. Now, I agree with you, and I do want to say because I was raised in the church, and I'm still a believer
Mhm,
to this day. I'm Christian, non-denominational,
mhm,
and my grandfather, also Christian all his life. Probably one of the strongest Christians I know,
yeah,
but prayer was not enough to help
mhm,
him. He was he was bad to
mhm,
where when the medicines didn't help, when the different cocktails that were put together didn't help, when the therapies didn't help, we as a family had to make a decision. Well, first, he had to agree
yes.
on getting some really aggressive treatment, shock therapy.
Mhm, mhm,
When we first heard it, shock therapy. What you talking about, shock therapy? You talking about the stuff we see on TV? Them folks stuff. Yeah, it was that bad. So we had to exercise our faith times 100 plus, allow modern medicine
yes.
and the doctors and the counselors to do their job, and it worked. So 3.5 years later, he's doing well.
It's
He's
awesome.
doing great. So
Mhm,
I'm just sharing my story because I want other people to understand, just like Christy is sharing.
mhm.
It's not, my aunt's just crazy or my cousins just no, they need help.
Yeah,
They need
yes,
help. So
absolutely.
I got another question. So a friend of mine just sent me this question. She said, please ask Christia this.
Mhm,
So when it comes to intervening,
mhm,
when is it necessary for family members, loved ones, to
mhm.
intervene with another loved one that they see is having some issues?
That's an excellent question because it's going to be different for everyone. And it depends on where you are, we're coming in on this. If this is, you've seen, repetitive things happening
Mhm.
and you already mentioned it, and you're kind of like, well, he's gonna let him do him,
Yeah.
let him do her, yeah, it's great to mention things that you see. However, you can intervene all you want to until they are ready,
Yes,
it's not gonna work.
it's
So
not
I
going.
think that, interventions are great, but I think there's a lot of emotion that gets out there, but it never gets resolved because once again, it's up to that person when they're ready. Now, they will take more of an interest or an action if they see that there's a lot of people that are like, oh, okay, you're saying that, oh, you think this is that, you
Mhm.
know, okay, well, let's try it. But ultimately, it is them
Yeah.
that are going to have to seek these things. You can put them in a room, but they won't talk. I've had clients that haven't talked. They don't talk. I don't want to be here. It's court ordered, or my parents will kill me,
Yeah.
or in college, and I still want that money to come through, but I don't want. And so I've had that, and so we've got to work all the way around it to get
Mhm.
to where the work is going to come in. But it is ultimately up to that person. But don't give up on that person either that is struggling with depression.
Absolutely. And just to add, like I said, my with my grandfather, even myself in 2013 when we lost my uncle and aunt tragically, I told my family, I said, I can't handle this.
Yes.
I'm going to get some help, and I did. It's probably the best decision I ever made.
Yep.
Concerning during that time my self care,
Yep.
and mental care. But anyway, you're right. They have to agree to go. Here's a question. How can Black boys seek help without being labeled?
Ooh, girl, you're dealing with some demons right there. And
It's
it's
loaded.
it's loaded because it is ultimately They have to get rid of the stigma, and it's just
Yeah.
one person at a time, and it's, not being perceived as weak,
Hmm.
and probably the
Right.
smartest thing you could do. And they don't know that. They think it's, oh, I'm failing my family because I'm trying to get some help, or because I don't know how to handle this. That's the biggest thing. That's pride. You know,
Hmm.
oh, I should be able to handle this myself. Should. That word needs to be eliminated from the way
Right.
you should be. Oh, you should be doing this. You should be taking care of everybody else besides yourself. Oh, you should be going, to church and praying about it and being a deacon and of the church. And that doesn't always help. And then it's perpetuated of our
Hmm.
boys and, black boys, that they can't go because, oh man, you crazy. I've heard
Hmm.
that a
Hmm.
lot,
Yeah.
that you're crazy. But it doesn't mean you're crazy. Just means we have a lot of stuff going on in our head that we need to work through.
Yeah.
Um, I've also seen an increase of people coming in, males, that are life coaching, getting life coached. So it takes away that mental health side, but then they're getting what they need,
Yeah.
essentially. However, make sure if you're going out there to get life coaching that they are licensed to do that,
Yeah.
licensed mental health,
Yeah.
because um, actually, when you are getting life coaching, these people aren't always equipped with mental health licenses or medical doctors or any
Mhm.
kind of mental health. And so they're just coaching. So just beware, because once they open this, wound, do they know how to heal it? It's
Mhm.
very important that you read into it, and finding male, therapists. There are
Mhm.
some out there. Unfortunately, it's very few. We don't have quite a lot of males, black males, Hispanic males, that are in this industry because of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't. So you have to do your footwork. You really have to do your diligence to find someone that's for you. And, you know, um, I'd start with a male, looking for
Mhm.
one. If you're a young man looking for a therapist, look for a male one.
Mhm.
There's some out there. Psychology Today is a great, first place to look. It's online, and you can
Psychology Today.
psychologytoday.
Today.com. Okay, thank you.
And you can look up and you can put in any type of filter you want, for your insurance, mail, what do they specialize in, all kinds of stuff, and get the help that you need, and it is essentially up to you. Because I always tell my clients, my new clients, I'm like, hey, thank you for coming in. I appreciate that you're here.
Mhm.
However, I'm the cognitive behavioral therapist. We're going to talk about things and we're going to take action in order for you to feel comfortable and to be healthy.
Yeah.
And um, people don't want that, and
Yeah.
they just too pushy. I just want to sit here and talk about it. But you find someone that's comfortable for you,
Yeah.
you know, you feel comfortable talking to.
Yeah.
That's very important. Very-
Awesome. Yes, great answer. And another question is, and this is a friend of mine that works as a teacher. She's in education. Um, in South Dallas.
Okay.
So, and we talk a lot via text, and sometimes, she'll share, about some of the kids where, her heart just goes out to them because a lot of them, teachers can tell when kids are having some issues. And she
Absolutely.
said that she's asking how can possibly she get the parents,
Yeah. Mm,
on board to get their kids some help. And also that, a lot of times, it may take insurance, or there are other resources where if the parents don't necessarily have insurance, how can they get, their child some help?
okay. That's excellent. First off, I want to thank that teacher for even thinking of contacting the parents, because I have teachers that I've worked with that won't. So,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
she's awesome. She really loves and she's passionate about what she does. So
well, thank her.
yeah,
Thank
I
you
will.
for doing your part, because it's very important. And it starts with her. She's noticing. We see the kids, all day. You see
Hmm.
them beginning of the day to the end of the day. thank you for, you're the start of this, for them getting help. So
Yes.
you talk to the parent and say, hey, Johnny's been really depressed or sad around these times. Anything going on? Oh no, he's fine. He's fine. I've heard it. And then you're like, well, then you have one person in the family like, well, maybe we can get him some help. So there are, along with some of the places that parents work, if they did not know, there are employee assistant programs. It's called EAP, and that gives you, EAP, employee
Okay.
programs for
Okay.
jobs. And I think that was one of the things through Obamacare that he had did, try to
Mhm.
make sure that everybody was taken care of mental health wise.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those things that got put into place, but not very many people knew it. So it's full blown now, and lots of companies go to that. They purchase like 3 to 6 free sessions to their
Mhm.
employees and their family,
Okay.
um, whoever lives in the home. So then they get those free sessions, and then it rolls over. If they need more, then it rolls over to their insurance. Now, when it comes to insurance, that's everybody, every man for himself,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But there are places that do, if not a sliding scale or either discounted rates, depending on who you go to, and where you go. And it's just, once again, you have to just look. Unfortunately, it's not just right here,
Yeah.
but it's better. It really is getting better, where you can go out and look and ask and see where to go for a discount.
Mhm.
Some people do pro bono, depending on where she is and what district she is in. I do believe that Dallas Independent School District has their own um, entity that
Mhm.
has licensed professional therapists there. So I don't know if
Okay.
she's a part of Dallas ISD, but they have their own therapy place there that they can get therapy with LPC
Oh,
interns.
that's
And
good
so,
information. Okay.
I forgot what it's called because one of my interns worked for Dallas,
Mhm.
but they have their own entity where they can get referred. Mhm.
Awesome. Great information. So, and I just want to say, ain't nobody got it all together. I think all of us got some little level of off. I mean, think about it.
Oh yeah.
You hear these stories of, these mothers that go off and snap, and kill a husband, or just do some off. And it's like, oh my God, little Miss Jamie, she's never done anything. She's got a spot-free record. But, something happened where
Yes.
if it was a tragic event or something traumatic where
Mhm.
she snapped. And a lot of people use that defense, right? Well, she just snapped.
Yep. And it's real.
It's real.
Real.
It's real.
It's so real. And that's some of the stressors, like you had mentioned, PTSD, which is
Hmm.
a anxiety, and it is traumatic, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And say, for instance, little Yolanda has been doing great. For the longest. I don't know. Her mom died, 12 years ago. She's
Hmm.
fine.
Hmm.
So one of the things that to look out for is that she is female, and most females are going to be quiet. They're going to fade to the back, and you're never going to know. They're going to
Yeah.
pass. They're going to be in school, but the underlying trauma is there.
Yeah.
Especially like if at that moment when she lost her parent, or a loved one,
Hmm.
or something else traumatic happened to her, and she did not get a new narrative. And
Yeah.
what I mean is, no one talked to her about this incident. No one sorted it out for her in her brain, because
Hmm.
brain doesn't know this instance from another traumatic instance. Okay, your brain
Yep.
doesn't. And so that instance happens, and then she has a car wreck. Still, this is like, oh, that's amping up the trauma. This
Yeah.
is the trauma. So it becomes compound trauma. And so then she gets into I guess, a domestic dispute with a loved one, a significant other, and she snaps. And everybody's like, well,
Yep.
what happened?
What happened? What? Yeah.
Until they talk to her and they do the interview and they do a psychological, and they're like, oh, who knew that she had been raped in the middle of all that? And
Yep.
who knew that, no one talked to her. She had a miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
All comes out
Right.
after.
It's layers,
It's later.
layers of
Yeah,
stuff.
and it's called compound trauma. And that's kind of what it happens. Everyone, of course, responds differently. We all have
Mm-hmm.
levels of resiliency. So it may not happen to me or you that way, but to Yolanda or Johnny or whomever, it manifests differently. And so that's, another thing that we have to remember, that of course we have our DSM that we do our, psychological evaluations, but everyone manifests differently. We are not all the same. We are not, status quo. I mean, we have our book, but that's great because we need a guideline.
Mm-hmm.
And however, that book is pretty much, focused on the middle-aged white male. I'm not that.
Yeah.
So the book
Yeah.
guys look a little bit different on me,
Mm-hmm.
you or anyone of color. So we have to take that into consideration, but we do have a starting place. So that is what needs to happen. Just talking to them.
Absolutely. And it just, with mental illness, it's no respect of persons. It impacts black, white, brown, rich, poor,
Mm-hmm.
young, old. It doesn't matter. But I
Nope.
know for, like you said, our community, for the Black or African American community, we were just taught, and I've heard this, girl, our ancestors went through so much and they did all this. You can handle it.
Mm,
Well, sometimes you don't want to hear that. And that's not helping me right now.
no.
Not right now. Maybe as I get help, I
And then
can
you need,
gain strength.
you
Right?
know,
Go ahead.
boundaries. And when you are, coming to that realization that I do think I need to talk to somebody about something, you have to remember your boundaries, because when you start talking to people about it, just like you said, they're going to give you something that's not helping.
Yeah.
It's not,
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
that's great. I was not there,
Yeah.
so
Right. At all.
so I can't relate with that.
Hmm.
But right now I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yes.
And I need to talk to somebody,
Right.
because all the stuff that I was trying, if you were able to even think like that, it's not working. Those
Right.
things aren't. And that's what happens with our brains. Our
Mhm.
brains, it's kind of like an injury. You get depressed and your body just kind of gets used to being depressed. And then you sink lower and lower and lower till you're just like, "Huh, I have nothing." And that's where suicidal ideation comes from. Attempts, because you feel unworthy, just worthless, and you feel hopeless and helpless, that I'm probably, things would be better off if I wasn't here. And
Yeah.
and then people are like, well, I'm not suicidal. Well, when
Hmm.
you're thinking about, well, I just wish I wouldn't wake up.
Yes.
What does
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Red
what is
flag.
mm-hmm. So what does that mean? And so when I do a crisis evaluation, and they're like, well, I'm not going to hurt myself. I know that's, against all of my principles, and, etc. I'd hurt my mom, but that, we need to look at that. That's a factor. That's one of those things. That's a symptom
Yeah.
that you need to look at. That if you're feeling that you're thinking about that you need to speak to someone.
Absolutely. I agree. Good stuff. And I was reading and listening to, there's, celebrities out there, a lot of people have their, celebrities and people that they love and admire. And I remember everybody from The Rock. He's been open about dealing with depression sometimes, and I think Taraji P Henson.
Mm.
She has a whole foundation that she's created around mental health. And Jennifer Lewis.
Yes.
She wrote a book, and I haven't read it all yet, but I remember her doing an interview about earlier this year. And one of the things that she said that stood out was that, one, she gets counseling. She has a counselor that she's had for years that she talks to, I think maybe once a week or whatever. But she's heavily invested in her self-care, mental care. But also, she said that, when you go into a dark room because you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with that depression, she said it's okay to be in a dark room, but you can't stay there.
Absolutely.
Don't stay there too long. You need to come on out.
Mhm.
You need to come on out,
Yes.
because when you start isolating yourself, and we know people, we know family, we know friends that we no longer talk to, they're just kind of off the map.
Mhm.
You don't hear from them, and you're like, man, what happened with such and such?
Mm.
And in some cases, something happened traumatic in their life, and they could not, or not able to get themselves together,
Right.
and they stayed in that dark room too long, and they're still there.
Yes.
Can you talk about some ways, of course, with counseling, what other ways can people do that may be listening, that's
Mhm.
struggling, and they say, well, I don't have time for counsel, I can't afford a counselor right now. What are some things that they can possibly do to help them?
Well, it's about connecting. As long as you stay in that dark room, you're not connecting with anyone, and
Right.
so that perpetuates that depression. It feeds it. It feeds it.
Yep.
So you have to make a crack in the door and open the door, step out of it. Um, because if this starts impacting your job, your living, your family, those connections, is start coming out,
Yeah.
start connecting with them, just being present with them,
Yep.
getting energy restored. It's like charging a battery. When you spend time, in the dark and you don't start your battery in your car, it's what's going to happen. The cells
Yeah.
die.
Hmm.
And so we've got to do that. You have to charge it, and even every day. And then you're just like, well, how can I celebrate that? I should be doing that anyway.
Hmm.
Once again, well, if you should be doing it, why aren't you?
Right.
So let's reinforce the positive that you've done.
Hmm.
Okay, I got up, I made myself breakfast. That's all I was able to do, but it was better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday I didn't eat at all. I didn't even shower. So me
Right.
starting that is good. Going out, trying to go for a walk. Okay, well, Christy, well, I can't walk outside because I'm in a bad neighborhood. Okay, well, you can do stuff at home.
Hmm.
You can do some air squats. You can get moving, get a video. Your phone is a wealth of knowledge. Meditation,
Yeah.
a form of prayer is very helpful. I have a couple of, meditation things on my phone.
Hmm.
I use it Insight Timer,
Hmm.
and the other one is Calm. So
Calm.
Calm,
Yeah. Calm.
Insight Timer, and Headspace is another one that I use, and just find something that's going to get you going. And one of the things that I always tell my clients is like, hey, this is you. You've got to do this. You've got,
Hmm.
you know, um, and there I give homework. And so, hey, your homework is to go for a walk twice this week.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't do it this week, Christy. Okay. I was like, okay, well, do you feel any better?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Okay, well, we got to do something. We got to keep moving. And even just me saying that is like, even though when they come to counseling, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
them moving.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a magic wand when I come in, when they come in. And lots of people think that, but it's not, because it's you doing the work.
Hmm.
I'm providing resources.
Yep.
I'm providing you with support. I'm accountability partner, just the clinical research and things that we're going to try. But ultimately, it's you that have to do the work.
That's right.
So it's getting moving,
Yeah.
focusing on you. And sometimes that's scary if you've dealt with trauma and you're depressed. When you start opening Pandora's box, it gets scary. So I
Yeah.
want to suggest to you, if you are dealing with something traumatic that pops up,
Yeah.
it, you need to get some help with that, because it's not easy going through that, and you may cause more harm than good when it pops up. Um, what I found with my trauma clients is that when we do open Pandora's box, lots of stuff starts coming out,
Hmm.
spilling out, and you find things that you didn't remember,
Yeah.
or tried to suppress, and it's there and it's icky and it's nasty. So you need someone to help you through that. You
Yep.
can't dig through that yourself. You can try to close a box, but we know what happens with Pandora's box. You
Yes.
know, opening, everything starts coming out. But once you unpack all of that and you get to work through it individually,
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom of that box is hope. So you have hope
Yeah.
once you get through that. Once you get through that, you are going to be on your way. But you just
e-
got to get started.
Exactly. Man, that's awesome. Great information. And so timely. And I really hope and pray that this is helpful to those of you that are listening, and it's really getting in, and you will reach out and seek help, or at least talk with someone. Like Christy was saying, you got to connect. Got to connect. You remember me sharing the 5 F's with you,
Yes.
Christia?
Mhm.
That has been what I have found to be my path to better
That's all.
is, and you hit it. I'm just gonna hit it with the F's.
Mhm.
Faith, faith,
Mhm.
family, friends,
Yes.
twofold. Fitness, which falls in the self-care, and self-care is mental health care.
Yes, ma'am.
Funny, which is laughter,
Mhm.
which there's so much good that laughing does for the body.
Yes.
Let alone it can instantly just lift your spirits and heaviness.
Mhm.
And 5, being able to forgive yourself if
Mm.
you haven't, for whatever reason, so that you can focus
Yep.
and continue to move forth,
Yes.
to the path of better. Now, within that self-care too, if it gets to a point to where you need to include, professional
Yes.
counseling, such as my sister, then you need to do that. But that is my path to better, sis.
Awesome. I
And
love.
you've been a part of that.
Oh, thanks.
You are a part of that, not only for me, but for Carla.
Mhm.
And I called you shortly thereafter her
Mhm.
dad had passed, and we got back home because I knew that
Mhm.
I was going to need some help
Yep.
with helping her. And I just appreciate you. I'm just telling you publicly. So I know I've told you privately, but I just want to tell you publicly, you've been a blessing for us, and I appreciate that.
Anything I can do. Anything I can do because you guys are awesome. I love y'all. Love y'all.
So, and we love you too. So how can people contact you if they want to talk?
Like I said, there- I am booked beyond reason, but I do have interns, like I said, that can also help.
Okay.
You can reach me on my website is www.bridges2crossroads.net. Yes, I
Awesome.
think.
Bridges to crossroads.net. And I'll make sure the link will be available for everyone to click on. And again, sis, I appreciate you so much. I love you. Happy holidays, all the good stuff. And I know we'll probably be seeing you soon.
You better be.
All right. All right, everybody. Y'all know what to do. Know that you're loved and appreciated. Now go take some action. Much love.
Love it.